Hey guys, Dodge again. It is so early in the morning. I've been up all night and thought I'd just go ahead throw this together, talk about a couple of things that have been coming up in other conversations I've been having recently. Um, the the big subject is cheating. With the Dan Lantier thing, Lantier, however you say his name, that happened a couple of weeks ago. Uh, big big name players that have been caught cheating. Jared Beecher, Alex Bertoncini comes up. There's a lot of debate in the community as to uh, whether we should let cheaters come back or why we let cheaters come back. And I think there are a few uh, kind of false arguments for that, as well as a couple of realistic ones. So the first thing that comes to mind is you hear, at least online, there's a decent number of people who will mention that Wizards wants a heel. They want storylines, they want to create storylines for players, and if that means they need to have a villain, then that is what it is. Um, there's probably a tiny amount of truth to that, but for how poorly Wizards has been doing as far as creating storylines for their pro players, promoting their pro players, things like that, I don't think that the heel argument holds up very well. There might be a very small percentage increase in the number of people who watch a stream if they think that there's going to be someone there that they can catch on camera doing something they shouldn't. I'm sure there's a number of players who are looking forward to that when a big event is streamed online, but I don't think that in any way Issa thinks that it impacts things. You can hear her in the background right now. I personally don't think that that has any real impact on why we let cheaters come back to the game. Um, the other argument for me that doesn't really hold a whole lot of weight is that people change. Um, Now, I do believe that people can change, absolutely. I've made huge changes throughout the course of my life. I know plenty of people who have done the same. I don't really think that that is something that Wizards puts a whole lot of consideration into. Um, I think that there is the presumption or the hope that after a lengthy ban or suspension, someone will change. Their outlook will be different, the reasons they play the game will be different, and that they will act in a more professional manner than they were at the time of receiving their DQ, their suspension, their ban, whatever it was. Um, I don't think that that's a big factor either. That's another one of those things that is kind of obvious and almost too obvious, and from a corporate business esports perspective, it kind of falls in line with creating storylines for players. There's not much incentive for Wizards of the Coast, for Hasbro, to put so much stock into someone for such a kind of lazy surface reason if they don't have any guarantee of it. Now, the two things that I think are much more influential, and the reason why we see cheaters come back, that we don't see things like lifetime bans for a first or even a second cheating infraction. The first one of those reasons being that this game exists in a place with other esports, maybe even in a realm outside of other esports, because it is a card game. It is something that you play sitting down. It is something that you can do in front of a computer. And unlike a first person shooter or a League of Legends type game, certain physical handicaps don't prevent you from being any better of a player. You know, games, video games, esports that require a high level of manual dexterity. Um, a player with certain handicaps isn't going to be as good as a player without those, and that's just an unfortunate side effect of uh, what the game is, what the person's personal condition is, you know, but like if you don't have legs or arms, you're not going to be as good as at basketball as LeBron James. That's just a thing, that's a reality of the world, and it's what we have to deal with. So, for that reason, the game has so much more longevity for pro players, for competitive players. You know, nobody's going to uh, get so old between the ages of like 25 and 40. No one's going to hit that critical mass of injuries or anything that they just have to retire, that they're unable to compete at that same level that they used to. That's not the case for Magic. You know, even esports. You know, say you're perfectly healthy, and then years of jamming away at the mouse and the keyboard have destroyed your hands. You've got arthritis. You've got carpal tunnel, and you can't StarCraft 2 anymore. That's not an issue in Magic the Gathering. There is no natural rate of deterioration for grinders in this game. Um, so there is so much more of an opportunity for someone to take a 20 or 30-year sabbatical and then come back to the game. And if someone gets banned or suspended for a lengthy period of time and then they come back, we can hope that that person has changed in that time. But really, it's just that the opportunity can be afforded to people who do take those long periods of time off and then come back to the game. We've seen it before. I'm sure we'll see it again. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the last point that I was making. And maybe it does give that idea that, you know, the DCI hopes that people will change some more credence. But I don't think it's the backbone of why we see cheaters come back. Um, the other thing that really pushes that for me is it's a kid's game. I know we don't see a whole lot of, you know, 10 to 14-year-old pros, uh, but it is a game that is made to be marketed to that teenage demographic, even if it's mostly 20 and 30-year-olds that play the game now. And kids make dumb decisions, and kids cheat. And it would really suck for the DCI and for Wizards if, say, a 10-year-old Magic savant was at a Grand Prix and got caught cheating and got a lifetime ban for it. And then 14, 15 years later, you know, maybe not even that far down the line, maybe 2 or 3 years later when they are 14 or 15, they want to come back. They've matured. They've grown as a person. They've figured things out. They're playing better. They're playing clean. And a lifetime ban would just not give them any opportunity to make that comeback. It wouldn't give them an opportunity to spend their or their parents' money on this game that Wizards produces. And at the end of the day, that's what hi Issa, that's what Magic the Gathering is it's a game that generates revenue for a business that is owned by another business and conglomerations of corporations all under the Hasbro banner. And you don't want to hit kids with those lifetime bans. And if we're not going to do that for kids, we're not going to do that for everyone else. Because everyone deserves a second chance to spend their money with Hasbro. Now, I'm going to zoom out here and show you guys this. I'll put a link in the description of the video to this. It's a list of the suspended DCI memberships. At least the current list. This is constantly being updated, even though it doesn't update very often. And that's something I really want to focus on. If we go down, this is something I highlighted earlier. This is the most important part, though. Showing 1 to 100 of 216 entries. there are currently 216 people out of, on the lowest estimates, we could say 8 to 12 million players. On the highest estimates, which are absolutely no way true, at least as far as competitive play, 20 to 25 million players. Most realistically, there's probably a million, maybe 2 million people who really consider themselves competitive players who are going out to Star City Invitationals, Opens, Eternal Weekend, Grand Prix, anything like that, Parade of Moxen, that we see 0.1% of those players getting banned is a pretty good indication that either the cheaters are amazing or the community is really good at these things, at not being shitty. And you can even see here, we'll use, sorry Raymond Jensen here from Ontario as an example. He's been banned twice, or he's been suspended twice, rather. Probably because he set up a second DCI number after the first one, or was trying to run fake events or something. But you do see multiple times throughout these lists that there are players who have been suspended or banned multiple times. Concurrently banned. So there's not even 216 people who have been suspended by the DCI. It's probably more like 205 or something like that. I mean, I'm not going to go through and count what the exact numbers are. I really couldn't tell you. I'm really not too concerned with that. Come here, Issa. Come chill, honey. Even though maybe I should be, I'm not, because it isn't that many people. It's not that big of a number. It's not that big of a deal, honestly. With so few players who have broken the rules, and I'm sure that some of these players are even on kind of technical suspensions. I mean, we've seen things like that before. There are a number of lifetime bans here, but those, I think, even can further be subtracted from the number of actual suspensions that we're looking at, because those are players who are not going to get the opportunity to come back to the game, so we don't have to worry about them. When we worry about cheating in Magic, more so than anything else, we are worried about the state of the community as a whole. We're worried about the culture surrounding Magic the Gathering. We're worried about, what is going to happen if things continue down this path. I hear a lot of speculation. I read a lot of speculation online that there are so many pro players who cheat. I think if that were the case, they would all end up on this list sooner or later, and there are too many recognizable names in this game for there to really be this rampant cheating culture at the highest levels of Magic. Judges care too much about their jobs and what they do and how they do it, and doing it correctly. So that doesn't concern me. What does concern me is that if we look on here further, we can scroll down. I'll go to the next page, and we can go to the top, and we can stop for a second. I'll let you guys look at these. Again, just click the link in the description and check it out. There are so many different lengths of bans. 6 months, 18 months, 2 years, 3.5-year bans. And I have to wonder how many of these are being given out for the same types of infractions. It doesn't feel to me like there is any real consistent length of time that people get banned for certain things. In the past year or two, we have seen people get lifetime bans for being toxic community members. We have seen very short bans for cheating. And while I personally think that if someone is so toxic that it's affecting the game as a whole, they should be hit with a lifetime ban. I mean, this is Hasbro's brand, this is Wizards' baby, this is the livelihood of a whole lot of different people involved in Magic the Gathering, and maintaining that brand, making sure that the game can sustain itself through any waves of shit mongering that might come out of any side of the community is the most important thing for Hasbro. Um, and I'm not saying that, we shouldn't suspend cheaters, that we shouldn't ban people for being toxic to the point of affecting, mainstay community members. What I am saying is that it's a little strange that there's so little inconsistency by the DCI, by Wizards, about all of this. And, excuse me, and that they don't seem to be implementing any sort of system to kind of reel that in. I would be very, very interested to see at any point in the future the DCI come out and say, we now have an infraction guide, not just for tournaments, but for the way that bans and suspensions are handled. If we ever got to that point, that would just be a surefire sign, to me at least, that things are going to be going strong for a long time, and that the brand and the game are in capable hands. So let me know what you think in the comments. Give me a shout on social media, here on the YouTube page, wherever. I've been Dodge. You've been Decent. I'll see you guys next time.